good to go.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everybody. Welcome. We will call to order the regular meeting of the Lawrence County Commissioners. It's Tuesday, June 20, 2023. We appreciate everybody that's with us today. If you have a phone or any type of communication device, if you'd be kind enough to put it on silent or vibrate, we would appreciate you doing that. We always start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ask you to remain standing for a moment of silence. And Commissioner Burek, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you all. Vanessa, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Steelvogel? Here. Commissioner Burek?
Present.
Commissioner Vogler?
Here, we have a quorum. We always have two opportunities for public comment, one in just a few moments. We welcome the publics and ask that they be related to county government matters, please. The next item on the agenda would be row officer reports and comments, but none of our row officers are with us this morning, so that takes us to public comments. Are there any comments or questions from the public so far today? Hearing none. Thank you. Under fiscal and contractual, we do have three repository property bids for us to consider. All three of them are located in the city of Newcastle. The bids have been approved by the Newcastle City Council. The Newcastle School District was also made aware of this, but they did not return any documentation to us. But now it rests with us to consider these requests. The first one, and what number would we start with today?
172.
172,
Yes.
thank you. This is proposed resolution 172. It is a $500 bid for a parcel on Pollock Avenue in the city of Newcastle, parcel number 05007100. I have a motion for us to consider this, please.
Second.
Thank you both. Are there any questions or comments on this one?
No.
Okay, thank you. Well, I've taken the motion. In hindsight, I should have done all three together, but I hope you don't mind. We'll move forward as we've done here. This first one then is proposed resolution 172. It's been moved and seconded. Assuming there are no other comments or questions, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Burek?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. The next proposed resolution is 173. It's also in the city of Newcastle, also on Pollock Avenue. In fact, the individual who has made all three of these bids is named Jen Gall. And this is parcel number 05021100. And again, Newcastle City Council has voted to accept this bid. Is there a motion for proposed resolution 173?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. Do either of you have any questions or concerns?
No.
Thank you. Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call then, please.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Burek?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And finally, for our repository properties, the final bid again comes from Jen Gall. It's a $500 bid. Parcel number 05144300 on Pollock Avenue in the city of Newcastle. The Newcastle City Council has approved or has accepted this bid. May I have a motion for resolution 174, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. Do either of you have any concerns or questions?
Just one curiosity question. Are these three lots adjacent to one another or separate? On Pollock
I
Avenue.
was trying to read the parcel numbers to see if they
not like in consecutive order. That's why I didn't know if
Uh-uh.
the same person, if she was buying 3 lots adjoining on one another or not. I was just curious.
I would say.
I'm not sure your question, but I suspect that Mrs. Foster or someone in her office would be able to answer that. Thank you, Mr. Burek. Any other questions or concerns? Been moved and seconded. 174, we'll do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Buick?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Also, under fiscal and contractual, we have warrant registers that have been submitted to us by the Controller's Office. They are dated June 13 and June 14. And I'll give you folks some time to look them over, and then whenever one of you would be ready, we could take a motion to accept these documents.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there?
And I will second.
Thank you both.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns with the warrant registers?
No.
Thank you. Do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Buick?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Vanessa. The minutes of the June 13 meeting are in our packet. Again, give you folks a little bit of time to look them over, and then whenever you're so willing, we could take the minutes as submitted.
I so move.
I will second.
I thank you both. Are there any questions or concerns about the minutes?
Can I make one comment,
Of
please?
course.
We, as with many meetings, we covered a lot of material last week and we made a lot of comments, and I just want to thank and commend our Deputy Chief Clerk, Vanessa Bailiff. She does a great job summarizing all of what's talked about in the meetings and make sure that the resolutions that are passed are accurately recorded. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
and,
Vanessa.
You did a very good job.
Thank you.
Yes.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Burek. Any other? Do a roll call on the minutes, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel? Commissioner Buick?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Under reports, we have commissioner reports and comments. And the order today will start with Commissioner Burek.
Thank you, Commissioner Vogler. I'd like to just take 2 minutes and just do a real quick summary of the meetings and events I attended since last Tuesday. Just because folks don't realize, in addition to the many
Right.
departments that we oversee here at the courthouse, we're involved in the community. I attended the Downtown Business Association meeting last week. I attended a meeting as we continue to explore ways to expand the broadband internet access to areas of the county that are underserved or unserved. I attended a meeting of the Lawrence County Learning Center in downtown Newcastle. I attended the Lawrence County Planning Commission meeting, which with my colleagues, both were there as well. I was on a radio show, morning show with Ken LeBovie. I attended a conference call with the Department of Public Safety and the local emergency responders, where we reviewed our current emergency dispatch policies and procedures with the intent to keep them updated so that the fire departments, police departments, EMS providers are in agreement with the way our 911 center telecommunicators handle the dispatch. I also participated in the CCAP conference call on some priorities, the 911 funding bill that's working its way through the state legislature, and the MH funding bill as well. And then I attended the Juneteenth celebration up at Whole Truth Ministries on West Washington Street over the weekend. So a very busy week as usual. Just wanted to give that quick summary of the events and meetings that I attended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burek. Appreciate that. I believe I'm next,
You are next.
and I really I don't have anything else to offer so far this morning, so I'll turn it over to Commissioner Spielvogel.
Very little, of course, attended many of the same meetings that Commissioner Burek as well as Commissioner Vogler attended. I was also, I'm also on the board for the Drug and Alcohol Commission. We did have our regular monthly meeting on last Monday evening. You know, lots of times we do attend meetings after work, so our work days sometimes are till 7 o'clock in the evening. So
And the Juneteenth celebration went very well received. A lot of good community spirit and camaraderie, and a kickball game. I haven't seen a kickball game in forever. I have to comment on that. About 50 people, young and old, playing kickball, and the usual ruckus that goes along with it, but no fighting or anything, but it's still a good fun game for them to play. I observed, I watched, but it was a lot of fun, very well done. David Ward and the committee of Newcastle did a very good, very fine job on putting that together. So, very well done. That's it for me.
Thank you very much, Loretta and Brian. Appreciate that. We will move on to new resolutions. And we have Alan Miller from Planning has a couple of items. Alan, if you're able to join us up front. We appreciate your being here today. And thank you. Alan, I hope everything's going well for you so far.
Yeah, so far.
That's good. Hope it stays that way.
Yes.
Well, you have two items for us to consider. The first is, if I'm understanding this correctly, it's an update to the county's existing street naming and addressing policy. Do I have that right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. So you have a proposed resolution and a copy of the updated document. I'll turn it over to you. You can fill us in if you would, please.
Right. Because of the changes to 911 and the next generation 911 system, the county has implemented in place in order to more easily comply with the requirements that we're now supposed to meet from the state. So,
Let me ask two things, then I'll turn it over to my colleagues. I know here, and it's stated in the resolution, I'm glad that it is, that the responsibility of naming streets and roads does rest with the local municipality, the
Yes.
city, borough, or township. The county does not name roads.
that's correct.
But we do have this policy to ensure consistency and to avoid potential duplication of names, which that would create perhaps a safety issue if you have two roads named the same. For emergency responders, knowing where they need to go. Secondly, in just briefly, are you able to identify any significant changes that were made in the document?
One of the significant changes going along with the naming policy is that we would provide recommendations to municipalities when they submitted names to us, but we didn't have any specific requirements in order to deal with conflicts. So we put like a point system in place to rank street names in order to prevent conflicts and explain our reasoning better to municipalities. And also, if there are conflicts that exist within the county, we can use that same point system. These are like procedural and how we deal with issuing of addresses or putting street names into our system, requiring resolutions from the municipality when they name streets. So we have proof that those were actually approved by the township before we would accept a letter from the municipality saying that we have issued this, but we would have an actual resolution from them. And a lot of it is similar to our existing one because it's an update, but it's clarifying stuff.
I appreciate that. And I've noted in the past that, I'll just use Main Street as an example. We have main streets throughout the county. I can think Wampum, Bessemer, boroughs each have a main street. I think Enid Valley does. But because they are in those different areas, if someone calls and says, I live on Main Street in Enid Valley, the dispatcher knows Main
Right.
Street in Longwood. But I think what you're trying to prevent are duplication of names in closer geographic proximity, I would assume.
Yeah, normally we don't have issues using the same street name within the county generally, but we try to avoid obviously within the same municipality, but also within the same zip code. We don't want to have duplication. Zip codes even worse than municipality.
Understood. And I'm sorry to belabor this, but now you've said something that triggers this question. We have a number of zip codes, as you well know, that spill over into other counties.
Yes.
And it's 16117, I believe. Or is that, no, it's
That's
16
Elwood.
Elwood. Enid Valley's 6112, I think.
16120.
16120. Bessemer, I think, is
Yes.
16. Anyway, I'm sorry to digress. How does that work with a neighboring county then? Does it not?
We don't normally communicate between each other's when we're naming streets. I mean, obviously, not a huge number of streets being named in the region all the time.
Yeah.
But we do have data from all our neighboring counties as part of the state's Next Gen 911 system. So we have access to that data. We at least internally, will check with the neighboring counties' data to make sure that we're not duplicating streets. But not all of them have like zip code information associated with their data, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. I'll also use, not that it's the greatest data in the world, but like Google Maps to try and check to see that there's not duplication within the neighboring counties.
Thank you for all of that information. Mr. Burek, do you have questions for Alan?
Yeah, one question. Was the Director of Public Safety involved in the review of this before this update was?
He was sent the policy for comment if he wanted to.
Did he provide any feedback or? I just note that this is important. I was in office when we actually adopted the first street naming and addressing policy. And I actually attended one of the NENA conferences, National Emergency Number Association, National 911 conference when I was in office. And I was shocked at the time that we had several municipalities that had multiple main streets in that same municipality. And especially in the city of Newcastle Borough, we had many duplicate street names. So this is important, and I'm glad you updated it. So thank you for the effort you put in. Thank you.
Commissioner Spielvogel.
No, I was going through it, and your question, and part of the answer is in section 2, street naming policies. County coordination.
There we go, found it.
Adjacent county coordination, that they do, the name does remain the same unless they would choose to want to change it, and that they have to do it at the nearest prominent intersection that affects the fewest number of addresses. I think that's just part of it, that's just a simplification of it.
Thank you.
Good question though.
That makes sense because we all know Elwood City Borough extends into Beaver County, and if there's a street with a
Oh,
certain.
Division Street. There you go, one example. Right, Lisa had that.
Elwood City is the worthy addressing authority for all of Elwood City Borough,
Even the Beaver County section.
because Beaver County does not do addressing as a county, so they leave it entirely up to the municipalities. Since we are the addressing authority for the Lawrence County portion of Elwood City, we're also for the Beaver County portion too.
That's good. I'm sorry, did you have a question, Lisa?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just bringing her into the conversation because she's an Elwood City person, so
Yes.
she would be familiar with this.
Former.
Right. Yeah, she's in Beaver County.
Butler.
Oh, Butler.
Last time.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller? Alan, you're recommending that we adopt this, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, did I get a motion?
No.
I don't believe I did, I'm sorry. I apologize. May I have a motion?
And this would be resolution 175.
Yes, sir.
I'll move for its adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you both. Any other questions or discussion? I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Buick?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Alan, the next one, proposed resolution 176. This involves the county's redevelopment authority and their side yard program. This is an application for properties on Webster Street. And before I ask you to give us your background on this, it does not identify the municipality in which Webster Street is located. Is that the city?
It's in Taylor Township.
Oh, Taylor Township.
Webster Street is like paper street, so it doesn't actually exist.
Oh, okay. Well, would you care to give us background on this proposed resolution?
These properties are properties that are in, what's called the treasurer's sale. It's similar to repository, but they are owned by the county instead of the county just being the caretaker of properties. And they were taken from paid taxes basically back before repository existed. These properties, the person who's trying to purchase them owns a business near them, so he's trying to add these to his existing business's property. He's also interested in purchasing more of those properties that are also in treasurer's sale or whatever near this, but these were the ones that he applied for first.
I think you mentioned this one day. Can I ask, this is down on off of 168 going into Taylor Township, yeah.
It's near
Paving company wants to buy that
Yes.
land.
Yes.
Well, makes it taxable property, so that's good.
Right, right.
If it helps a local business and he'll start paying a little small property tax on it every year, I see no
Yes.
reason to not go along with it.
Absolutely.
Unlike what we did a few minutes ago with a repository property where a bid is made and the three taxing bodies consider that bid, since this, as you noted, predates the repository law,
Yes.
and these are county-owned, we don't have to run these past either the township, in this case Taylor, or the Newcastle Area School District, do we?
That's correct.
Okay. Let me have a motion so we can proceed further. Someone willing to move for proposed resolution 176?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. Other questions from Mr. Burek?
No, I would assume it'd be like any other property transfer, the county solicitor would prepare the deed for transfer if we approve this resolution.
Thank you.
What's the total, 150s for all the lots or for each
That's
one?
150 per lot.
Each
Per lot.
one.
Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 lots.
Yes.
Loretta, do you have questions?
No questions.
The one other question I do have, and maybe it says here, catch it. Does this have to receive approval from the us?
Well, this is transferring property to the redevelopment authority, and then the redevelopment authority has to approve the transfer from them to Mr. Youngblood.
I got you. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you clarifying that. We don't get these all that often.
No.
This is only the third time I'm aware of this.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good thing, as Mr. Burek noted.
Yes.
Other questions or concerns for Mr. Miller? Or Alan, anything else you need to add,
That's it.
other than that you're recommending to us that we approve this?
Yeah, this may be a legal question, but I'm just curious, so procedurally, we transfer property to the redevelopment authority and then they're gonna sell it to a business. Does the deed have to be filed twice, or, I guess that's a legal?
There will be a deed filed from the county to
To
the
the
redevelopment authority, and then from the redevelopment authority to Mr. Youngblood.
I mean, there has to be a paper trail when there's any or so. Okay. No, I think it's a positive move for the county in 2 ways.
Absolutely.
I would concur with that. Well, we have a motion and a second for proposed resolution 176. If there's no other discussion, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Buick?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. Alan, thank you as
Thank you,
always.
Alan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll see you in
Yeah,
half an hour or so.
Right.
something like
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Lisa Haddad is with us today. Good morning, Lisa. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And have you met Commissioner Burek?
We have.
Okay, good. Lisa is with a juvenile probation office, but I just want to make certain that you folks had.
Did meet a few times.
Oh, good. That's great. Well, you have two proposed resolutions, I believe. The first being 177, which is a contract with Jefferson County, Ohio. There's also a Jefferson County in Pennsylvania, but we'll stipulate that this is in Ohio, specifically the Jefferson County, Ohio Juvenile Detention Center. Would you like to give us some background on this proposal, please?
Sure, both of these are renewals of contracts that we currently have in place. The first, like you said, is Jefferson County Juvenile Detention Center. We spoke before in front of you about having difficulty finding detention center beds, and so that is the reason that we've actually had to go across state lines over to Ohio. Jefferson County just being one of the two facilities that we have located in Ohio for this type of detention bed available for us. So we are requesting to have that contract renewed because of the need.
As you noted, you have a second one, but before we move to that second one, let me see if my colleagues have any questions on the first proposal.
Is this for a Lawrence County juvenile who's like violated probation that's needs detained or?
Correct. It could also be for any juvenile that had serious enough charges that would warrant their initial removal from the police when they've been called to any type of scene or any type of incident. So we are running what's called the PADRE, which is the Pennsylvania Detention Risk Assessment Instrument, which will help guide our decision-making when it comes time for decision-making processes, whether or not to ask for secure detention, whether or not the juveniles can be released home, if they can be required electronic monitoring, or detention is the most, PADRE is a scoring system based on whether or not they have a felony, it scores a certain amount, other circumstances, et cetera. That is helping guide our decision on the fund. So we're not using it willy-nilly, if you will. It's based off of an assessment instrument that will help make this determination. So we're consistent across every juvenile that we have a request for.
Two more quick questions, please. Mr. Chairman.
Of course.
Currently, how many juveniles are placed there?
I don't believe we have anybody
Okay, it's just the contract is as used on an as needed basis.
as needed basis, absolutely.
And then just one more question of
Sure.
curiosity. Were you with the county juvenile probation when YDC at Newcastle was open?
Yes.
Was that ever used for Lawrence County residents when you were here?
It was, but not for secure detention type services. It was used for placement.
Long-term
So, long-term, correct.
versus post-adjudication versus pre-adjudication?
Correct,
Gotcha,
yes.
okay. Because I was there 5 years as a teacher, and at that time, I think there was only one or two Lawrence County residents. But again, those are kids who were adjudicated delinquent and placed there for a longer term. This is a detention center to hold them while their juvenile court proceedings are still ongoing.
correct.
Okay, I was just curious.
They can also be held there as a, I can't trying to eludes me at the moment, for those juveniles that are potentially charged as an adult and then being held in the juvenile facility until a determination is made whether or not that case would come down from criminal court to juvenile court. Those can also be those types of juveniles can be held in that type of facility as well. And I jokingly say, I know you don't look it, but I'm gonna be hitting 23 years in the county here. So yes, when I first started, we had probably at least a dozen or more juveniles placed at YDC. And then we had kind of worked our way to remove them from that facility because of costs and et cetera.
I understand that it was a very real consideration, so. But as you recall, both, I'm sure, there was a very famous case in Lawrence County a few years back, a very young juvenile accused of homicide. But the question was it going to be tried as an adult or a juvenile, and went back and forth. And so sometimes in those situations, we need a place to put these kids until that final determination is made. So
It's just that's the type
I
of
was-
hearing. Couldn't
I
remember
was
the words off the
going
top
to-
of my head, but there we are.
thanks for that background.
Thank you. Loretta, questions for
I
Lisa?
think, Brian has covered everything. I just noted that it's just to have them on file, contract as needed, which is a lot of contracts, you have them ready in case that you do have.
Absolutely, a lot of the contracts we have in place are not actually even put into place, maybe sometimes, or what once in a blue moon,
Yeah.
but, definitely when it comes to secure detention, we need to have availability, even though most of the times right now, things are still full. So we could very well call and they may say that they don't have a bed available. So the more places that I could potentially contract with, the more places we could potentially call and try to find said bed.
One more real quick question that popped in my mind. Do we know this particular facility, how many bed capacity do they have?
I'm sure I do, but not off the top of my head, sir, I'm sorry.
But the good news is, even though it's in Ohio, it's about roughly, an hour away?
Yes, actually, I think it's actually closer than Edmondell and Erie for us to get to and back.
Even though it's Ohio, it's closer than other facilities in Pennsylvania, so. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you, Lisa. And appreciate all the discussion we've had. This is proposed resolution 177. May I have a motion for its approval?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. Any further discussion?
No.
Vanessa, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Buick?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. Proposed resolution 178 is another contract that you would like for us to consider with White Deer Run. And the address we have for them is Torrance, Pennsylvania. Lisa, I'll turn it over to you and you can fill us in, please.
Sure, that's another contract that we are currently in with for sex offender treatment. So we actually currently have a juvenile in placement there right now, and most likely that juvenile is going to be there quite a bit of time, probably until his 21st birthday. So this is a long-term placement facility that we need for sex offender treatment, secure sex offender treatment.
Thank you. May I have a motion to allow us to consider this resolution, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. Let me see, Loretta, questions for Lisa?
No, just on the unfortunate part to come by and again, keeping someone till they're 21 years, burden that's placed on the county to have to be able to deal with that, but we do have to take care of it. And is it an 80-20 match from the state or
It is 60/40.
60-40?
Because it's an institutional level and a secure facility.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burek, questions for Lisa?
Do you know off the top of your head what the per
I don't know, I think, so CYS handles
Okay.
and puts them in place for us, I just get to come
All right.
and request, I'm sure it's probably in some of the paperwork that you have. in
I will
in the
find out. I'm
contract,
just
but-
curious because of what we're doing with the
Right.
county jail, and you gotta know what the market's bearing for different types of placements for juveniles, so.
I will say it is not cheap.
I-
I know that.
Right.
Then don't suspect that it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw out either $400 or $450 a day maybe.
I'll verify that.
They've got to help with the new
But we-
contract.
Unfortunately, we have that
This is true,
responsibility. We have to
yes,
provide
sure.
this level of treatment, so
Right, we
I will
do.
support the resolution.
I'm sorry? I'm
I
sorry.
just say we have to provide this service, and so I will support the resolution.
Oh, okay, good, thank you. And Mr. Vanasco has a question.
I'm sorry, is that on the grounds of the old
Yes,
Torrance State Hospital?
yes,
Okay, I'm very familiar with it.
yes, it's one of the buildings.
Okay, yes.
So, my understanding is correct, most likely with this juvenile that we're speaking of, will probably go Act 21, and I guess that's just across the parking lot, so,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you, Joe. Mr. Burek?
Sorry, that triggered something. So this is the, I think I read about this. This is a former state hospital grounds where private companies went in and are utilizing certain buildings on that.
It's still a current state hospital.
Okay, it is, but it's.
Yes, but I remember it was in the planning stages, and I was going down there for meetings for this particular service to be provided down at the state hospital.
So the state hospital is still open there,
Yes.
but it was downsized.
Yes, it was, I think they've all closed or been downsized a certain percentage. It's still a large state hospital. I couldn't tell you how many beds,
I'm confusing myself. I know up at,
maybe.
Paul?
Hope recently.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
They're closing, but some nonprofit agencies are either leasing or buying some of that property to provide services on that same site. I apologize. But yeah, you're right. Torrance and Mayview were the two big state ones.
Yes.
So.
I guess it's very intimidating when you drive in there.
They all are.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, definitely. The fences and the razor wire and all of that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful piece of property, looking at across, there's fields all around you, you know, agricultural around you. So,
Refresh my memory. What county is Torrance, PA in?
could be maybe Indiana.
I was gonna guess Cambria, but.
Okay, right. I have the general idea where it's at.
I know I went down 422 a long ways.
All right,
I
I'm
will say
sorry.
that we are very pleased with their service and the care that they're giving this juvenile specifically.
Well, thank you for all the information, Lisa, and the good discussion that we've had. I believe a motion has been made and seconded for proposed resolution 178. No other discussion. We'll take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Buick?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Lisa, it's always a pleasure to have you here. You're very welcome to stick around, but I'm sure you got a lot to do, so.
I do. For a week for vacation.
Oh,
That's good.
see,
Welcome
Pile 'em
back.
up, so.
Welcome back. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Next on the agenda would be proposed resolution 175. You might recall a few weeks ago, we
179.
179, I'm sorry, thank you, 179. We advertised sale of a 2012 Cruze. We did receive a bid from Mr. Leonard Lombardo of Fruh Mill Road, Newcastle, PA. His bid is for $900. And this proposed resolution would then allow us to sell this vehicle to Mr. Lombardo. I'll ask for a motion first, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. Brian, any questions or concerns?
No, I'm sure you both saw, we did have maintenance checks
Yes.
for a small vehicle like this. Approximate scrap value is around $300. So I believe we can sell it for $900 to this gentleman for parts or whatever he wants to do with it is the better move for the county. So I support the resolution.
Thank you very much. Loretta,
No questions.
questions or comments? Okay. Joe, anything to add to that?
No.
Thank you. Well, I assume the appropriate department will take care of the transaction, making certain Mr. Lombardo receives this vehicle. I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Buick?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. The next proposed resolution, number 180, is a budget amendment. This would take $641 from the prior year balance capital expenditure revenue fund account and move it to the other improvements of capital expenditure expense fund account of the same dollar amount, 600. This money will be utilized toward trail. Could I have a motion for resolution?
Moved.
Thank you. Thank you both. Loretta, questions or comments?
No.
Mr. Burek,
No.
anything? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Buick?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. We have two requested budget transfers. The first involves a number of offices throughout the county government. We're transferring them, the dollars into the access line item for these offices, including the commissioners, the voters, treasurer, tax claim, planning, HR, veterans, I had a hard time reading that one, recycling, sheriff, public defender, I believe,
It took me a minute to
public
figure
defender,
that, yeah.
district attorney, the courts, juvenile probation, and the jail. The total amount of the transfer is $19,476.23. And if I'm not mistaken, does this cover the, what we pay for the storage at the mines? Is that right?
Dan, this is gonna be through the end of the year.
Through the end of the year. Okay, thank you, Vanessa. That's the first transfer request. The second one comes from Children and Youth Office. They're asking for a $100,000 transfer from within the Juvenile Probation Office's budget, coming from the institutional line item into that of community-based delinquent placements. And that document has been appropriately signed by Mr. Bout. If you're so willing, I would entertain a motion to approve both of these requests, if someone wishes to move for that.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you both. Mr. Sherrick, any questions?
No.
Thank you. Lorraine, questions? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Buick?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. I believe at this time we'll pass on the resolution that's on the table. We come down to announcements. First being that the commissioners will once again meet a week from today, Tuesday, June 27, at 10 a.m. in this room, and it is open to the public. Early in the year, we had advertised for a proposed meeting of the county salary board. However, that board meeting is canceled because there is a lack of to be brought before the board. So there is no salary board meeting today. It is canceled. And speaking of meetings being canceled, the prison board meeting, which was scheduled for tomorrow, June 21, that has also been canceled.
Yes.
Anything else to add to that, Loretta?
No, if we don't have much business to discuss, so instead of having a meeting, to have a meeting. What I will do though is the warden will send out just an update on the number of inmates and I know, because I think Brian, you asked about the inmates and different costs and things there. So he will send an update on just the staffing report and report on that too. So,
Thank you.
yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much. This is the second time we will announce that there are 2 positions on the airport authority that will be opening. The 2 incumbents do have, if they so desire, the opportunity to reapply. And anyone else who wishes to apply to serve on the airport authority can either attend one of our public meetings and indicate their interest, or they can send us a letter. If they do apply in writing, we ask that they include their social security number, which we will protect. But the purpose is we have an ordinance on the books that stipulates that when someone applies for an authority appointment, that they be subject to a background check. But we do have those 2 openings.
Mr. Chairman, either the incumbents to submit a letter. I know I saw one did submit a letter, the other one has not yet.
Right.
Or for outside persons interested to submit a letter.
Excuse me, I just received an email this morning.
Okay, so we have heard,
Yes, they
Is-
both wish to be reappointed.
reconsidered.
Yes.
But is there a deadline on incumbent who is interested in serving? Is there a deadline for them to submit that?
We've never set one before, so
Okay.
that would be up to you guys.
Well, we announced it a week ago and we've
Right,
announced it
this is the
today.
second one.
The earliest we could vote on the letters would be a week from today,
Right.
if that would be the wish of the board. Now, I will note that we do not meet in 2 weeks, if I'm reading my calendar correctly. July 4 happens to fall on a Tuesday, so there is no commissioners meeting. So our situation is we could either take a vote on this a week from today, or if the board wishes to wait until July 11, we could do that as well.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know if it was updated from when I was here prior. There's an ordinance or resolution on the procedures? I think it should specify from the date, there should be at least, 5 business days from the date of the second announcement before any action be taken. There has to be some kind of guidelines as far as give enough time for people who may have an interest to be on one of our boards to submit their names. So, do we know, Joe, is that a resolution or ordinance?
It's an
or
ordinance. It's an ordinance.
Okay. I apologize. I'll get a copy of that ordinance and I'll look it over. But I think it's not unreasonable to always wait at least a full week after the second announcement to see if any other names get submitted expressing an interest. So anyway, thanks for allowing me to ask that procedural question.
Certainly, thank you. And as we noted, 2 weeks, it's hard to believe, if I'm reading that correctly, the 2 weeks from today is July 4. Wow, summer's going fast.
It is.
And that, of course, is a federal holiday, and it happens to fall on a Tuesday, so the courthouse will be closed on Tuesday, July 4, in observance of Independence Day. And accordingly, there will not be a commissioners' meeting on July 4, since we will be closed. Public comment, I would note that there are no members of the public in the audience at this time. Let me see if my colleagues have any closing comments, and I'll start with Commissioner Spielberg.
I do have a comment. Actually, it's just to let our viewers know that we did start with the opioid advisory board. We did open round of funding, and the application is on our website, easily accessible, and that will go, it's ongoing right now through the end of July. So
That board meets the first
first Tuesday at noon here.
Now that's.
So in July, that's the 4th of July, so will you move it to July 11th or you just
We
won't meet in
will.
July?
Yes, now, well, we have to advertise that we're changing that meeting.
I would assume you are.
Thank you for that.
Unless that was addressed in the original legal ad at the beginning of the year.
I don't think so.
I don't think it was.
First Tuesday.
Okay.
Correct.
And I think we need to double check. When I first took office in April, I was given a list of the meetings for the rest of the year, and I don't believe 4th of July, the county realized when they first put that ad out that
Yes.
it was on a Tuesday, 4th of July. So we need to double check that, maybe put one ad covering both of those.
Yep, I'll take care of
Okay,
Thanks.
Anything else, Loretta?
that was it, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burek, anything else?
No, thanks.
Vanessa or Joe, have we overlooked anything to your knowledge?
No, sir.
it. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate that. Well, thanks everybody for their input today. If there is no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye,
Aye.
opposed, the same sign. The motion carries. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Joe's disconnected.
Just that went right over my head, July 4th.